laabi ɗi so ngayni ko wiyete ko consultancy and design ɓen woni ndaratɓe ɓe hoɗo laawol foti rew hono ngol foti waade ndako min mbaɗat ɗo koko ndako min mbaɗat gay mango walla ɗo cycle foti dogde so ɓe pewɗi ɗum haɓe ngayni noon ɓe gaddi minen noon laawol ngol wonata laawol ni tan kallangol ni ko laawol standard international tawa kala ɗo jaaɗa e aduna he a tawan ngol façon laawol dina am ndaje bu fee xewna bu soobee yàlla ak yonentam bu tedda bi dina xew ci atum 2022 ndaje boobu noonu su fee xew ñun liñ ñu gën a sas mooy nañ jëfandikoo suñ xel ak suñ xelaat ñu wër àdduna njëkkee Gambia tam de dajale njëriñ li na mun naa nekk koom-koom wala xaalis mun naa nekk leneen loo xam ne itam waruwaay laak ay otoog ak yooya loolu bokk na si dañuy defar ay yoon ne OIC ci boppam na ko wolof yi di waxee rek ku ayee wol sa moome du noonu waaw kon ñun ñoo aye wol suñ moome bi nag la ca ànd mooy defar ay yoon yu correct.
And in the aspect of energy, we are working with our partners in this regard, NAWEC. We are giving NAWEC, I think, up to $32 million to enhance their generation and distribution capacity, both in the area of electricity and water. In the electricity component, we'll be replacing some of the transformers, but also we'll be helping NAWEC acquire modern cables, electricity cables, overhead cables, to make sure they are able to distribute as much power that they are able to generate, because as it is right now, NAWEC generates a lot of power, but distributing it is the problem. So that is what we want to help them to enhance. In the area of water resources, we'll be building water treatment plants for NAWEC, in addition to digging boreholes as well. And in doing so also, we will help them in their distribution capacity to make sure NAWEC is able to cover new grounds. NAWEC is also able to make sure they stabilize their water supply systems in a way that people will find it reliable, because often we hear people complaining about how they go days without water. So OIC will come in that regard to complement it.
The fifth one, of course, has already been accomplished, and that's the $50 million International Conference Center, which was a grant from the Chinese government that has actually been inaugurated by the head of state, I think, early this year.
In fact, it is the biggest in the sub-region, with a capacity to hold more than 4,000 people at a time. The plenary hall is able to seat more than 1,000 people, and on top of the plenary hall, we have different thematic room areas, different spaces that can accommodate people. We have a banquet, so it's a state-of-the-art facility, and in our current times, it is also able to facilitate teleconferencing as well. We have teleconferencing facilities. Given the huge space that we have there, people are even able to hold large meetings and then be able to observe social distancing and give space as well.
Things. We believe that even if you put together all these 5 pillars successfully, you need a peace of mind to be able to have your guests come to the country, conduct the conference peacefully, and then stay in a safe environment. So we are putting a lot of emphasis also on security. Already we have trained over 1,000 Gambian security officers in various aspects of security, including VIP protection, counter-terrorism, and so on and so forth. But that's work in progress. Our aim is to at least train 3,500 security personnel. And it is not only capacity building in the area of training, but we also envisage capacitizing them in terms of infrastructure and equipment.
Ko abiti e kulle dadol leydi ko wonno security dum ko e OIC dum ko e lesam woni sa bay minen ne Allah ko ngon sengo hokki min hakkil kewdo min jetti mboyenne woni kulle diplomacy e kulle security a tawat non den min ballodiri e leydi wadi do toki min ballodiri e leydi wandino Saudi e leyɗele goɗɗe Qatar en ko wayi noon he Sénégal sah leyɗele goɗɗe ne mbiɗen ɗe eɓɓi yiide min kalda e maɓɓe hewɓe e maɓɓe won ko mbaɗi ko wayno Kuwait en ko wayi noon.
The Gambia National Petroleum Corporation is the country's national oil company. For the past 17 years, GNPC has continued to deliver excellent services to all Gambians, from individuals to corporate clients. At GNPC, you are guaranteed the best quality fuel in the Gambia. Visit our stations and stop by our auto spare parts store, where you can find petroleum and lubricant products, wiper blades, and many more. All these provided without delay. With 10 service stations located throughout the country and still counting, GNPC gives you the best customer service anywhere, anytime. Think fuel, think GNPC. Gambia. It is now time to take ownership of what we own. GNPC. Nyokomom. The Gambia, our homeland.
I mentioned that we also have cross-cutting issues, and some of those cross-cutting issues are really communication. We really need to stay in touch with the world, and we really also need to create awareness about what we are doing during the conference, before the conference, and after the conference. So we are also trying to mobilize resources to be able to assist partner agencies within the country to be able to better equip themselves and carry that function out to the best of their ability. We have executing agencies. For instance, for the roads, the client, because when we mobilize resources, finance actually manages the money, but the client is usually the line ministry, relative to the project. In the case of the roads, the client is the Ministry of Works, and the executing agency is the NRA, National Roads Authority. For the airport projects, still the client is the Ministry of Works, but the executing agency is the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority. With regards to NAWEC, Water and Electricity, the client is the Ministry of Energy, but the executing agency is NAWEC, National Water and Electricity Corporation. So, but in terms of stakeholders, they are numerous, because we have the police, we have the municipalities, we have the women, we have the youths, we have the hoteliers, we have the vendors, we have the business community. We have a whole gamut of stakeholders as far as the implementation of our projects are concerned. For the road construction, and even for the airport, and for NAWEC, we go through the consultancy phases. The consultancy phases are the design phases. So the consultants would do the design, and they will do the pre-tender documents, and they will also even assist us with the tender documents, which will enable us to recruit the contractors. So it comes in that way. All our projects have been initially planned to complete by December 2021. But then, of course, we've lost some momentum with regards to COVID. But there has been mitigating factors that we have brought in to be able to minimize the negative impact of COVID. We have established what is called a Road Reserve Committee, and work has actually commenced in earnest. And this is where now we are now beginning to implement our communication strategy to make sure that all stakeholders, I mentioned that vendors, road users, youth, women, school children, everybody has a part to play in this. So some of the properties will be impacted. We've carried out a study which has highlighted, some of those properties that may have encroached, into the road reserve, because the area we are concerned with is 40 meters from the median line, 20 on either side, 20 meters on either side. Anything within that is said to be within the reserve part of the road. Of course, if you look at it in certain areas, you realize that some of the properties are actually within that reserve area. But we have established under the OIC Secretariat a road reserve committee, which comprises physical planning, NAWEC, KMC, Brikam Area Council, the police, ourselves, Works Ministry. Any agency that has some role to play with regards to security, with regards to space, with regards to the roads, are all part of that. The whole idea being our communication strategy will support that group to be able to create awareness in the first place why the road and how important it is to everybody and why it should be everybody's business to support the building of this road. And we are not oblivious of the fact that people will be impacted negatively, but then we have to consider the greater good. We have explored ways ahead of time. We are now consulting and looking at alternatives, because we do not just want to tell people, leave this place. We are telling you, can you please leave this and move here? Because we know even if you tell some of the vendors to pack up for a day, it's impacting their lives and livelihoods negatively. And again, awareness is very important. You wouldn't believe that already government has designated lands around here, car parks and markets. And the way these roads are going to be structured, we cannot have all these people, hawkers and vendors around, because the plan is, which is not final yet, we are going to have 7 meters on either side of the road, which is going to be dual carriageway. And we're going to have 3 meters on either side, comprising 1.5 of the shoulder and 1.5 of the pedestrian part or cyclist part. So you will need all the 40 meters, you know. So currently the Road Reserve Committee is working very hard in collaboration with the physical planning and the lands office to even relocate most of these people, including all these people who are selling the second-hand cars. We are trying to relocate some of them at the Jabang Highway. There is a lot of space there. We are in discussion with the ministry to be able to identify an area there where, and look at even along the road, you have all these people selling sand, all these trucks. It's an eyesore. You know, every day new garages, mechanics are making their appearances, you know, arrogating places to themselves. You know, and it's an eyesore. They are pouring burnt oil, derelict vehicles, everything all over the place. And this is the gateway. From the airport, this is the only highway we have into this country. So we really need to, and part of the plan of the OIC, as far as this road is concerned, is not only to construct it, but also to beautify it. And we are also in cooperating with the GT board. Originally, the GT board wanted what is called the tourism development area. But we told them no, we needed to expand it all the way from the Yundum Junction to Sting Corner. So these are some of the things that we are doing. There is a lot happening in the background, and I think I can imagine what you are trying to allude to. There needs to be a lot of sensitization. Nobody should be left behind. Everybody should be on board. Everybody should see themselves in this. They should see it as their responsibility to make sure this thing works. Because even if the funds are available and all the contractors are on the ground, the work will progress well if everybody complies and supports. But if people are reluctant to support, it can create a lot of problems for even the contractors. So that's one thing we really want the public to be aware of.
Communication is very central to what we do. We've been working on a comprehensive communication strategy, and our goal is to make sure we mobilize the public in terms of support for our projects, but also to make sure all the people in this country see themselves in the projects that we are rolling out, in a way that they will see the benefits, the long-term benefits, the wider benefits for themselves, their communities, and the country as a whole. And we've launched our communication operations. If you are following the local media, I want to assume you must have heard our ads, our promotional ads on radio. The video is coming. On social media also, we are actively engaging people about what we are all about and how the projects will benefit Gambians. And in addition to that, we have, as part of our communication plan, a grassroots community engagement component in a way where we will go out and meet people that will be impacted by our community, by our projects, talk to them, and also solicit their support. We will also, there are plans afoot to also work with private individuals and companies to make sure we facilitate some of these things. We are aware of the fact that what we do will impact local and ordinary people. That is why we are adopting this approach.
It's going to be a stimulus for growth, because I don't have to begin to enumerate the importance of roads, how they would impact goods and services, how they would impact our individual pockets in terms of the fuel consumption and so on. I do not also have to express the need for good accommodation in this place. And I want to, let me just say, overall, we believe if you put all these, what we are trying to do, if you put all of it together, like I said in the beginning, we are putting Gambia at a different level. What we are trying to promote is an alternative to cash crop, this monocropping that we have granules. We want to promote Gambia as a conference destination. You would have, with hindsight, note that Gambia used to be the re-export trade. It used to be the bread basket or the supermarket of the sub-region, which we kind of have lost. I'm sure there are efforts to kind of regain that status. But I think promoting this country, we've had tourism. I think Gambia's tourism product is one of the most mature throughout Africa. We started even before Kenya. And in addition to really promoting our tourism, if we can promote this place as a conference destination, I think we are likely really to, create additional sources of revenue for government. Again, I think at the individual level, you can't pump in $100 million in a small economy like the Gambia without having to feel the impact at the local level, because it's going to affect markets. We are going to buy more and more of the things that they would need in the construction industry, for instance. Those who are actually in haulage industry will benefit. Those in the horticulture industry will benefit. Those in the cottage industry will benefit. Those in the sand industry will benefit. So I think it's one cannot really count the benefits that are likely to accrue from the implementation of these projects.
Still in the area of tourism also, through our OIC efforts, we will also work with our partners to make sure our preeminent position as the leader in tourism in West Africa is preserved and promoted. We will work with our partners in the tourism sector to help them upgrade where necessary, to design new packages, and in a variety of ways, and the conversations have started. And I am very hopeful that a lot of positive development will come out of that.
Apart from the fact that you have to comply with the guidelines of the funding agency, you also have to comply with the GPPA rules. This is all these projects were on international tender, and they have not been sourced to any particular company. They are all highly competitive. In fact, the minimum number of companies that have competed for any of our projects, both at the consultancy and the contractuals, the construction stage, the minimum is 6 companies. And then in the case of Saudi Arabia, all their projects must be co-implemented. I mean, they must have Saudi companies to pair with local companies. We have also, in this regard, introduced certain elements because we want local content to feature very well in these projects, for 2 good reasons. One, build capacity, with a view to sustaining whatever in the future, so that our companies can better compete, the international companies in the future. At the same time, there'll be a trickle-down effect economically, so that not all the funding coming is not just going to be repatriated back, so that the local community also can benefit. So in the water project, in the electricity project, in the roads project, in the airport project, the Saudis would send a list of Saudi companies, 6 for instance, or 9, and we are also now to ensure that 6 other companies locally, but then at the level of pairing, we do not interfere. They talk to each other and they identify who will marry who. So they come in that kind of JV, and that's how they compete. So that's the way the funds are structured. The idea of a local content has been conceived right from the beginning, and this is why we make it even conditional in the way our projects are competed for. That we realize that there is a deficit of capacity, especially in the area of construction for such mega projects, and we insist that any international company that's coming to work here, you must have a local partner. That way local content is assured. At the same time, our communication plan and even our procurement plan also takes into consideration local content.
For the women folk, they are the people that you usually see on the highways engaging in informal businesses. We have a plan in store where we want to work with either YEP or GAIPA or both of them to make sure we build their capacities, to be able to package the products that they sell, to be able to formalize their business, because we are also expecting the world to come. So we don't want to carry on as business as usual. So what we want to do is to empower the businesses to be able to sanitize, for lack of a better word, their business environment in a way that it will not be difficult to have the public, the world that is coming, our guests interact and interact with our businesses and the products that they sell.
We want the visitors to come to this country, and as soon as they come, they feel the Gambia. They continue to feel the Gambia, experience Gambia, and then live with that experience for life. So everything when they come in right from the beginning, when they stay here, what they take along, even in terms of our contribution at the conference, and in terms of the memorabilia that we will be providing for conference attendees, we want everything to be Gambian. So this is a challenge for our local entrepreneurs to make sure they are worth their salt. They participate and compete and provide us quality which is of international standard.
At the center of all the things we are doing, all these projects, I think the one that excites me the most is the job creation component. When you look at the hotel construction, the road construction, the airport construction, the conference proper, all through all these projects, we will need human resources. And by human resources, I mean we'll be creating employment opportunities for people in this country. So the potential for jobs is high. So the opportunities are humongous, in my opinion. And as soon as we start rolling out our projects, we will create avenues for young people and the women folk in particular to be able to tap into these opportunities. But I can tell you that we hope to generate a lot of employment opportunities.
In fact, the whole objective behind this secretariat really is more transformational than transactional. If you look at the kind of projects that we are putting together, I mean, it's unprecedented in the history of the Gambia, and it may not answer all our infrastructural needs, but we hope that it will be very transformational. It will be leverage, people can leverage on that, and then it will afford the government to be able to allocate scarce resources to other areas.
The way that we think about our projects is that we are looking at transformation. We are looking at transforming the Gambia. We think beyond the summit. So that being the case, we want to make sure long after the OIC summit is done, the Gambia maintains its reputation as a conference destination, as the leading conference destination in the region. So it's a magnificent edifice that has the potential to change the fortune of this country in terms of tourism and other respect.
The Gambia National Petroleum Corporation is the country's national oil company. For the past 17 years, GNPC has continued to deliver excellent services to all Gambians, from individuals to corporate clients. At GNPC, you are guaranteed the best quality fuel in the Gambia. Visit our stations and stop by our auto spare parts store, where you can find petroleum and lubricant products, wiper blades, and many more. All these provided without delay. With 10 service stations located throughout the country and still counting, GNPC gives you the best customer service anywhere, anytime. Think fuel, think GNPC. Gambia. It is now time to take ownership of what we own. GNPC. Nyokomom. The Gambia, our homeland.
There are 8 strategic goals of the NDP. And if you look at our own strategic intent, each of them complement one or other of those strategic objectives. So we are, in a way, there is no conflict. We are creating the necessary synergies to be able to complement in a significant way the attainment of the objectives of the NDP. We know that it's a cardinal objective of the NDP to make sure there is sustainable supply of energy, reliable and sustainable supply of energy. Our support to NAWEC clearly indicates significantly how we are contributing towards that goal. If you come to the area of tourism also, clearly you see how a 5-star a brand hotel would add to that strategic goal. And if you talk about roads also, so our goals are mutually inclusive. In fact, I would say ours are a derivative of the national NDP goals. So we are in a way significantly impacting the implementation of the National Development Plan.
Talking about the OIC projects and their linkage with the NDP, I think that is quite significant. The OIC projects are cross-cutting. It touches a wide spectrum of issues that are central to our growth and development as a country, which also has a very, very strong synergy and bearing with the NDP. If you look at the main components of the NDP, is employment generation, growth, energy, agriculture, and a host of issues. And these are the same issues that the OIC wants to address with the key strategic projects that we have ongoing. For example, if you look at the construction of roads, as part of our strategic plan, we'll be constructing 20 new roads in addition to the Battle Harden Highway as well. When it comes to our tourism portfolio, the NDP also has significant plans in that regard. And OIC is going to contribute by diversifying our tourism portfolio, by introducing conference tourism in the Gambia through the conference center and the upgrading of airport facilities. So as you can see, our meeting points with the NDP is several. That is why on our board, we have all the right and key policy decision makers. The board is headed by the president, supported by the different ministers that we have in this country to make sure decision making is fast and smooth. And at this juncture, I would like to acknowledge the support and contribution that we receive from the executive, the leadership. The fact that he is the chair of our board speaks volumes. It shows how much they are committed to making sure that the summit, the OIC projects, and all related matters are expedited and then are carried out in a way that the country will be proud on the international stage. I can safely say any allegation whatsoever that there are any form of executive interference in the work of the OIC is unfounded. In fact, we enjoy considerable support from the executive. Rather than interfere, they have been facilitating. In fact, we operate with a degree of autonomy, with a strong degree of autonomy at the OIC. Whatever we do is in line with the extant rules and guidelines that we have here, and also in line with the guidelines that we receive from our funding partners. In fact, to show you how independent we are from the central government, or how participatory our approach is, we involve all the major stakeholders. All the tendering process is open tender, public tender. Everything that happens is communicated. We do it in collaboration with National Road Authority, in collaboration with the Ministry of Works and all the relevant partners, based on the relevance of the different institutions in this country to a particular project. For example, NRA is our main partner in the road works. But when it comes to the water and electricity, NAWEC is our main partner. When it comes to the upgrading of the airport, GCCA is our partner. So whatever we do, it's strongly anchored on the principle of transparency and accountability, and it involves all these bodies. So you know, when you have all these bodies participating, it will be difficult for any sort of interference or any sort of untoward action to take place. So I can tell you with a strong degree of certainty that at the OIC we operate with a strong degree of autonomy. Rather than interference, what we have is facilitating from the executive.
Now, dañi ko wiyete kadi national development plan. Andi plan kam na wayno tan ko diidol wiyangol ko ɗo jiɗɗen yah. Ɗum neɗɗo goto waɗata ɗum. Gardiɗo ko wawi woni mi diidi lawol ngol nani ngare njehen. Joni noon jaho en fof sa hawri e hayre dirtin, sa hawri e butel dirtin, sa hawri ko bonnata dirtin. So lawol ngol feewi, enen fof en jaa ɗo jiɗɗen ɗo heɓoy so Allah jaɓi. Ɗum ɗon noon taki ko abbiti e kulle tourisme ina hen, ko abbiti e kulle ko wayno nino finance ina hen, ko abbiti e goɗɗi dal. We cannot just go through this without complementing the efforts of some of our staff, particularly the head of the brand and communication, my brother Fali Fadera, with his team, and also those who attended these organizing committee meetings, because we had a rigorous process that they went through.
For me personally, I consider it the honor of my life to be part of such a huge project that we consider a legacy project, a project that will be here long after we are gone. So to be associated with it in any way is a big honor for me, especially as a young person, because the problems that we seek to address are the very problems that Gambians grapple with on a daily basis. So the fact that you are part of a national effort to make life better, easy, and to bring progress, I think it's an honor that anybody would definitely appreciate, and I hugely appreciate it. I think it also speaks to the policy of this government, the progressive policy of this government in encouraging young people to be the best of themselves. We have seen, in addition to the OIC, the TRRC, even if you look at the transitional justice as a whole, the transitional justice program as a whole, young people are central to it. Wherever you look in this government, whatever opportunities that they have, they make sure young people are at the heart and center of it. So as excited as I am, I also want to express gratitude to the people that give me the opportunity to serve. They could have said, oh, he's young, as usual, let's go for the old guards. But I think the government is approaching things with a progressive mind, and as a result, they want a dynamic team that will be able to adapt to the needs of the times to make sure whatever we are up to is effectively done. And like I said, I'm excited to be part of this story.
We are only playing a little part. Most of what we do can only come to fruition through others. And in this particular case, we need the support of the Gambian population, We need their moral support, we need their prayers, we need their collaboration. We need people to comply, because when such works start, it affects some people negatively. I talked at length about how people will have to be displaced, how certain businesses have to move, how some properties may be affected, but it all boils down to thinking about the greater good. If we see Gambia as the #1 objective, if we see the development and advancement of the Gambia as the #1 objective, I think everybody should be supportive of the work of the OIC. And then hopefully, if we could deliver on our key priority areas, we would have enabled Gambia to start the process of moving to the 21st century with adequate facilities, adequate infrastructure, to be able to be a comfortable member of the Committee of Nations.
OIC is here for all and sundry, irrespective of the political affiliation you identify with, irrespective of the region you come from, irrespective of the language you speak, the tribe. You know, at the end of the day, when the electricity supply is stable for all of us. When we have better roads, everybody will benefit from it. So that being the case, I strongly want to appeal to the general public to give as much support as they can to the OIC, because when we successfully host the summit, the pride is for all Gambians. It's because it's like putting the Gambia on the global stage. You know, we are a small country, but we have so much to offer. And I think this is one opportunity that we have to demonstrate the fact that we are more than our size, and we can pull more than above our weight on the international system. Thank you.
Who initiated what? This OIC subject was initiated in Niger, in Mauritania, Senegal themselves, some of them they are struggling. I remember when I saw the interview of a professor. So not only Gambia spoke about, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Sierra Leone, you see, because we are now in what they call the Africa Isle. This is not about country by country. So Gambia convinced the world, convinced the Islamic Ummah that we can do it. A resolution was passed that yes, Gambia can host it in 2022. It's not like we could not host it in 2029, but what they want is, once we host it, Gambia will be also an international conference destination. Because when we host it in 2022, we are going to remain the chairperson, okay, for 3 years. So most Gambians are just putting their minds on 2022, but this is going beyond that. Because those 3 years we'll have resolutions, we'll have summits, we'll have meetings and all that.
ñu ngi leen a isil bunti waxtaan boo xam ne bunti waxtaan bi ñu ngi leen a isil ñeneenti jigéen ñoo xam ne ñu ngi jóge ci fan liggéey yu bari te dinañ ñëw pour waxtaanal leen lan mooy soxla jigéen yi. waxtaan bi mooy lan taxawaay jigéen bi nag suñu waxtaan bi mu ngi jublu si lan mooy laajal bàjjen. programme laaj bàjjen bi tey nag dina isi mbiri lan dinañ waxtaan suñ mbiri dëkkuwaay yi, waxtaan fitna yi nga xam ne mooy nekk ci kaw jigéen ñi ak xale jigéen yi, waxtaan mbiri wérgu yarami jigéen yi ak lépp loo xam ne moo lëkkaloo ak dem kanami jigéen te laaj bàjjen tey dina leen isil waxtaan boo xam ne dafa gën a yaatal suñ xalaat ñu jóge nag ci bunta yoo xam ne bunta yu yaatu la te naaca ci xam-xam googu nag tey dinañ ñëw pour séddoog yéen li nga xam ne moom lañ xam ba pare tamit mun a edda ci i fànna yu bari
kon ñun njaboot gi ñun ñoo ci war a bàyyi xel di leen seet di leen toppatoo te muur gi ñoo muur ci biir kër gi moo tax kër gi toj
waxtaani bàjjen yi tey gi nag du em ci foofu rek képp ku fa am lu la jaaxal wala am laajte boo bugg a laajte yooyu ak jaaxle yooyu yëpp dinañ ko tontu te dinañ ko gën a leeral
Njaay dafa juddu ak mayam li mënoon kenn jàngalu ko waaye biiri dafa amoon lu spécial lu nekkoon ci moom loo xam ne kenn jàngalu ko
bu jëkk góor ñi am na liggéey yoo xam ne ñoom rek ñoo ko daan def léegi jigéen ñaa ngi koo def yéen naka ngeen def ba jigéen ñi mun a feeñal seen bopp wala yéen naka ngeen di def pour feeñal jigéen ñooñu
business doo jóg rek ni man damaa def business foog nga xam li anglais wax fundamentals yi foog nga xam lan nga si war a def lan la laaj ak lan la laajut lan la nangu lan la nanguwut loolu yëpp ñu ngi ko won jigéen ñi
ndongo Banjul démb ga ñu tax ñu naan ndongo Banjul doo ko jéem da nga koo donna soo ko donnul doo ci mun a ne du compine booy xëy suba rek bokk génn déedéet
kenn nit mun a tuta yóbbu kër il faut jigéen ji liggéey man gis naa jigéen yoo xam ne ju seen jëkkër yi dee dañ jooy parce que ñu ne pour jóg sax dem defi dara ñoom xamuñ liñ war a toppatoo pour ci kër gi sax fan lañ koo defee di dañ toogoon rek kooku di leen defal lu nekk
kan moo njëkk a doon police bu jigéen ci Gambia Police Force
am na benn xale bu jigéen bu dëkkoo primate Njaayeen kooku ci groupe bi ñu ko bokk la Sira Njaay maa ngi koy fàttali ko baax a baax
jotaay ci seeni télévision GRTS jotaay di ñëw ci week bu nekk di waxtaan ak njiitu liggéeyukaay yi ñu waxtaan ci agriculture waxtaan ci wàlli tàggat yaram waxtaan ci education waxtaan ci wérgu yaram àndaleen ak maam Tamsir Njaay week bu nekk ci jotaay di ngeen dégg lu leen neex dégg li nga xam ne dina leen wettali ci seeni néeg
The checkpoint.
No, I'm saying I'm giving you specific example.
They give us specifics.
No, that the constitution said 5 years. But there is no constitution that is written in stone.
Becoming a president was a national call. Whatever I'm doing in the interest of the Gambia.
The former president has not given us one single dime. We have not got anything from him.
I'm not desperate to be the president of this country.
That is 21 point something million.
Is it 23 or
23 or something, yeah.
23.1.
Yeah, 23.1.
You don't resign, you always push out.
I'm not a quitter.
You never quit?
No.
You have to be pushed.
I'm not a quitter.
The IEC never rigged election, I can tell you that.
In a responsible governance, you don't just promise people. You have to make sure that whatever you're going to announce to the public, it is something that is ready.
Driver's attitude must change. What about police attitude?
Yes, the attitude of the police. Is also should change. Before this government, what used to happen, and within this government, what is happening now, I leave that to the people to judge it.
The checkpoint. Big names on big issues. Only on GRTS every Saturday at 9 p.m. So democracy is the way out.
Visit the Gambia, the smiling coast of Africa.
Towns and villages. Nimu program kuta timimbi na lala banko tela bumbaka GRTS.
Janjambure to janjan nimbure muso ni kew. Wotu boy telephone ka fele janjan nin kayay. Tuba bolla foro ko joj tawa.
Program lo mimba dendi na sate ringol nyin na sate balla tarikola.
Kankurango la lasilo botande la lasilo. Baruto mo kankurango ite dun na jafo ko no ni man oda soto. Ni ku ko fanam man so e may bu kak siti kankurango ti.
Ka funding kel karande na adu ni ciosano law.
Slavery mol mi yalon ko ye samba dol bije fada stilo kam dol bije fada janto mil yalon ko fada je ko million tan kata million tan ni lulu e mir bondi West Africa jankata Europe and America.
Alka funta anti dabo mo woni fansu jambak towns and villages mimba kala na la GRTS.
من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.
soo bëggee jàng ni ñoo saytoo maanaam management te xamoo fooy jublu demal seeti fii di Sibek College fi ñuy jàngalee ndaw yi xam-xami management dinañ jàngal ndaw yi nu ñoo mënee management bu dee musuloo koo jàng wala am kayiti jàng ngir dëgëral sa man-man ci wàllum saytu toppatoo maanaam organise ak njiite ci bépp mbootaay taalibe yi fa jàngee ba wàcc tey ñu ci bari am nañ liggéey am ñoo xam ne door nañ seenu business bopp saa yoo sootalee sa jàng te soxla ay tegtal bunti jàngukaay mi dinañ la digal ci kaw loolu wan la ni ngay utee liggéey ak waajal lii di interview mbaa bokkoo ci nit ñi yaakaar ne bu dul jaare yooni gannaaw duñ fi mën a tekkee kon nag jaaral ci wakawel.info/Gambia ngir am ay xibaar yu wóor ci anam yi nga mën a jaar boo buggee tukki bitim réew mbaa nga soxla jàng ut liggéey mbaa mbiri jula fii ci biir réew mi
8 p.m. in Banjul, and from our studios here on MDI Road, this is the news on top of our headlines tonight. The Bainunka Family Association of the Gambia meets President Barrow at State House to discuss issues of national development. Boosting rice production, the Ministry of Agriculture joins partners to launch the $30 million regional rice value chain development project targeting 10 African countries. GRTS finds out from Gamtel what was responsible for Tuesday's internet blackout in the country. A day in Palodi village, find out later in the news as GRTS journeys to the last settlement in the North Bank region to find out what it means to live in one of the Gambia's most remote communities. In sports, Wasahalat are crowned champions of the GDC Free Football Tournament after a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Jola Kunda. Away from home, more than 1,000 people are arrested in Russia after the
only
jailing
goodbye
of
Alexei Navalny could manage before heading to prison.
Details of these and others coming ahead in the news. With me, Fatu Ali Kamulushi. Many thanks for joining us. Hello there, it's good to have you with us. Now, the President, His Excellency, President Adama Barrow, has said that his government has created the conducive environment for all ethnic groups to promote their language and cultural identity. President Barrow was speaking at the State House during a meeting with the Bainunka Family Association of the Gambia, who paid a courtesy call on him. The meeting, as we hear in this report by Momodu Jallo, sought to inform him about the planned activities of the association to revive the Bainunka village, or language rather, and culture which is on the verge of extinction.
These are executive members of the Bainunka Family Association of the Gambia. They are the State House to meet the President and lobby government for support in the efforts to revive the Bainunka language and culture, which they fear is endangered.
These are ethnicity that has been here for a very long time. In fact, our research are showing us that they've been here before the arrival of many of the ethnic groups in the Gambia. But not much has been known about them because they are scattered all around the country, and the language also is almost hidden. In fact, is one of the ethnic groups that has been regarded by UNESCO as an endangered language.
In doing so, they have set themselves ambitious goals, which members believe is mark a turning point for forming big group that once occupied large parts of the Gambia.
We came up with some strategic plans that will help us to be able to do that, which include doing proper research to be able to write an accurate history of the Bainunkas in terms of the origin, the settlements in the Gambia, Senegal, and in other parts of West Africa. Part of the strategic plan is also identification of Bainunka communities in the Gambia. We know there are so many Bainunka settlements, but we will embark on a thorough investigation to be able to establish those settlements, as well as to come up with a curriculum to be able to teach the Bainunka language, so that our young people who cannot speak it will be able to speak it, because before you are able to boast of your ethnicity, you must be able to speak your language, and that is the foundation.
The Minister of Tourism and Culture, Hamad Nkeba, the initiative is in line with government's cultural policy adopted in 2018 to support indigenous languages and cultures in the Gambia.
nekkal na nguuri Adama Barrow mbégte bu rëy parce que objectif yi ngeen wax.
It is a great pleasure for the Adama Barrow administration because the objectives that we have set out are part of our cultural policy adopted since 2018, and part of which is to empower all ethnic groups to ensure that they preserve their culture.
Ethnic groups, seen aada réer fii.
The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, said he was happy to receive the Bainunka Association, expressing hope that members will work tirelessly to attain the lofty goals of reviving their language and culture. He assured members that government will support the initiative, as it has provided the conducive environment for people to promote their cultural identity.
pour que Bainunka ka bondi ka feeñ pour society ya kalamuta.
This initiative of reviving the Bainunka language and culture, so that it could be showcased and identified, is indeed very important and commendable. My government will continue to support all Gambians, whether they are a majority or a minority, is immaterial. What is important is being Gambian. But this task that you have set yourselves is a big one. To ensure that you revive your language and your culture, that is a demanding task.
Alsi continue alsi balundino fo banen ko abenun damen ay futaje ata easy la ba
He urged the Association of the State Force in the airports uniting the bilingual community and assured them of his government support at all times. The President concluded by commending the efforts of the Bilingual Association in complementing the efforts of his government, adding that he will send a delegation to their festival slated for this weekend in Fonijaro. The event is expected to bring together members of the Bilingual community from the Gambia, Senegal and Guinea-Bissau for a weekend of cultural activities. Mamadou Jallow, GRTS News.
Still on the presidency, where His Excellency Adama Barrow continued to receive more ambassadors accredited to the Gambia. The latest to present her letter of credence to the president was the High Commissioner Designate to the Republic of Ghana, H.E. Gloria Poku, who is based in Dakar. Mamadou Jallow reports.
The new High Commissioner Designate of Ghana, Her Excellency Gloria Poku, was greeted by Kotagat upon arrival at the State House. He was later escorted upstairs where the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, received our letters of credence, formally marking the beginning of our tenure as Ghana's High Commissioner accredited to the Gambia. After the usual protocols, which involved signing of the registry, High Commissioner Poku was seen by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Mamadou Tangara. Mamadou Jallow, GRTS News.
Now, early on Tuesday, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad, Dr. Mamadou Tangara, on Tuesday, 2nd February, received the Ambassador of the Republic of Ghana to the Gambia, Her Excellency Gloria Poku, who was at the Foreign Ministry to present copies of our letters of credence before delivering the actual letter of credence to the President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Adama Barrow, on 3rd February 2021. The top diplomats seized the opportunity to discuss the long-standing friendly relationship between the Gambia and Ghana dating pre-independence. The discussions centered on ways and means of strengthening the excellent bilateral relations between the two countries. In a similar diplomatic engagement, the Honorable Minister on Wednesday, 3rd February, received the Ambassador of Austria to the Gambia, Her Excellency Gerland Pashinger. In his office in Banjul, Ambassador Pashinger presented copies of her letters of credence to the Honorable Minister. Her actual letters of credence will be presented to President Barrow on Thursday, 4th February at the State House. Minister Tangara and Ambassador Pashinger laid emphasis on the sector of education, in which Austria would provide scholarships to Gambians and also provide long-term diplomatic training for junior diplomats at the Foreign Ministry to undergo at the Austrian Diplomatic Academy. These scholarships will contribute immensely to building the capacity of Gambians across the board. During this brief diplomatic engagement, all the bilateral issues were also discussed. Now, the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, met in an extraordinary session on 2nd February 2021 via video conference under the chairmanship of Heshi Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana and Chair of the Authority, in preparation for the 34th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of the African Union on the election of the new management team of the African Union Commission. At the end of the summit, the leaders released a joint communique, of which we'll bring you later in this bulletin. Now, the Ministry of Agriculture, in partnership with the Islamic Development Bank and Badia, on Wednesday launched the Regional Rice Value Chain Development Project worth $30 million implemented in 10 African countries, including the Gambia. The project, which will be in 2 phases, is targeting 2 million beneficiaries. Details in this report by Majany Barrow.
The launching of the $30 million Regional Rice Value Chain Development Project brought together stakeholders under the Ministry of Agriculture, including its partners. The Minister of Agriculture, Ami Fabre, said the agriculture sector in the Gambia is dominated by small-scale rain crop production with groundnut, coos and rice and traditional livestock rearing, and some of the predominant activities by farmers. Minister Fabre added the multi-million-dollar project is expected to help the Gambia government realize its food self-sufficiency and reduce the country's dependence on rice importation.
Regional Rice Value Chain Development Project is the newest project with the Ministry of Agriculture and is funded by the Government of the Gambia, Islamic Development Bank and the Badia at a tune of about $30 million. The overarching approach of the regional program is a value chain where the private sector play a key role in developing the inputs and the output markets, as well as value chain financing.
Delivering the statement through video, Islamic Development Bank Regional Coordinator Musa Silla assured of his bank's continued support for the Gambia's development objectives.
The Islamic Development Bank, under the leadership of the President, Dr. Hajjaj, has initiated structural reform and institutional transformation in order to positively impact the lives of the people of our member countries. This report is intended to make the bank more proactive, responsive to the needs of member countries, and to provide innovative solutions tailored to the priorities of the member countries.
The Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Agriculture, Ibrahim Sissawo, said the Gambia's dependence on rice importation needs addressing. The project he went on is expected to reverse this trend with the improvement of local production.
We are very hopeful with the cooperation of our development partners. This project will make a very big change in our development process. The expectations are very, very high. We must therefore collectively deliver as expected. There is no alternative. We look forward to a day when emergency food support is no longer needed.
The components of the Regional Rice Value Chain Development Project is to improve rice production and productivity, strengthening the links to market, policy and institutional support, and project management and coordination throughout the 10 selected countries in Africa. Majany Barrow for GRTS News.
Now, the Public Enterprise Committee of the National Assembly on Wednesday summoned the Gambia Investment and Export Agency, GAIPA, for failing to appear before the committee to present its activity report and financial statement of the year 2019. Aissatou Gujata Gassama has more. Would move on to other stories as well. Now, the Select Committee on Environment, Sustainable Development and NGO Affairs of the National Assembly also summoned the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources to table the timber log issue and other environment matters. Aminata Isanya has the details.
The National Assembly Select Committee on Environment, Sustainable Development and NGO Affairs summons the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources to explain the steps taken by the environment officials to address the recent issue of trucks filled with timber logs and parked at the buffer zone, explaining how it was spurred and the joint exertion applied by different stakeholders to address the issue. Environment Minister Lermin Diba shared the progress made by his ministry.
From the recommendations of the report sent to the Permanent Secretary, I further directed that the matter be taken to the competent court for immediate action. And since then, the matter was taken to the court, and this is where we are as far as we are concerned. If something is true, but this is not the only experience that we had in terms of unscrupulous businessmen who wanted to beat the system and do their business in the way they wanted it.
Lamin Badger, forestry officer, highlighted the significant oppression they've been doing.
The collaborative work that we are doing with the police. You know, you can say even in a family, not everybody are equal. Some will respect the elders' word. Some will be never mind. So there are loopholes here and there that we will fail to misunderstand each other, and that will cause some havoc in the job. But meanwhile, from our authorities, what we have from them is we have to work hand in glove to ensure that whatever is coming on illegally is stopped and be prosecuted.
Considering the continuous illegal transport of timber, Environment Minister shared plans to adjust the laws into more severe punishments to put a halt to the practice. He as well shared meetings held with the Senegalese counterparts in a bid to jointly address the practice, which is causing both countries' environmental damages. The National Assembly members took turns to ask questions and as well make significant suggestions and comments for the ministry.
Thank you for honoring our invitation. If there is any motivation for you coming here, we believe fervently that it has to do with national interest. That is the overarching factor behind it. And we have seen that for the fact that you have availed yourself on time. We want to thank you profusely for seeing the Gambia and for looking at the bigger picture. We are grateful, and we hope this collaboration will continue to grow from strength to strength.
The Environment Ministry pledges to continue working closely with the stakeholders to curtail the practices causing environmental degradation. Amita Ishanyang, GRTS.
Now, the judiciary of the Gambia on Wednesday held a high-level stakeholders forum to launch the Rule of Law Roadmap. Happening for the first time in the Gambia, Chief Justice Hassan B. Jallow, Minister of Justice Dawda Jallow, and the Honorable Speaker, Mariam Jack Denton, were among the religious leaders, state councils, and CSOs present to witness the milestone achieved. Senabu Jani was there, and she files in this report.
The Rule of Law Roadmap and the Index was put together with the support of the United Nations Development Programme, government ministries, and the judiciary of the Gambia in a bid to provide a basis of peace, justice, and drive the judiciary in the right direction. Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan B. Jallow, emphasized the importance.
Justice is not just a matter for lawyers and judges or magistrates. It's a joint enterprise between the lawyers, the judges, and the general public. Justice is there for the public. And that is why the law requires, for instance, that we must carry out our functions in public. Cases must be subject to public hearings. There needs to be transparency and accountability in the execution of our functions. And so the public has a stake in what their perceptions are important to us as well.
With the legal background herself, the Honourable Speaker of the National Assembly, Mariam Jack Denton, highlighted the importance of the move by the judiciary, a programme she says will allow the judiciary explore their challenges and find solutions.
But in spite of all these achievements, it should not be forgotten that the judicial system in the Gambia faces many challenges, the core of which includes inadequate infrastructural support and investments, and this has affected to a great extent the proper and timely administration of justice. The lack of law reporters is of particular concern as it restricts the judiciary in its fundamental duty to give timely judgments. The absence of adequate stenographers and court reporters further impede the judiciary in carrying out its duties effectively.
The Rule of Law Roadmap outlines the challenges encountered in the everyday workload, which includes backlog of cases, weak investigations, and poor case management, which results in loss of public confidence, among others. Attorney General and Minister of Justice Dauda Jallow said this roadmap is a vital pillar that provides justice in a fair and impartial manner.
The government of the Gambia continues to play a complementary role in reinforcing the legitimacy of the courts by promoting its independence and thereby augmenting public confidence in the judicial system. Moreover, within the realms of its overall constitutional authority, the government has initiated and advanced laws to give effect to smooth and functional judicial system and to assist the courts in its overarching role of ensuring that justice is manifestly and undoubtedly seen to be done.
Officials held the collaborative work of the various stakeholders in developing the Rule of Law Roadmap.
4 outcomes of the roadmap are targeted to enhance sector-wide capacity and coordination, strengthening access to justice, especially for the vulnerable, enhance rule of law and accountability mechanism, and finally a greater degree of safety, law, public order, and adherence to human rights. It's also essential that the rule of law institution agrees on the measures that will ensure that women, children, youth, and persons with disabilities have access to justice.
The Rule of Law Roadmap was presented to the gathering by the consultant. The forum is expected to play a pivotal role in promoting the development of the nation, as various stakeholders will contribute their suggestions towards the challenges governing the justice system. Zainab Bujang for GRTS News.
And now it has yet again come to the attention of the Gambia government that false reports and insinuations predicting the imminent return of former President Jammeh are being amplified by some news and social media outlets. Significantly, these baseless reports have provoked anxiety and tension among members of the public. Equally, the misinformation has given rise to acts of deception, particularly among supporters of the former president, who have been terribly misled to believe in these fairy tales over the purported imminent return of former President Yahya Jammeh. The public is reminded that former President Jammeh's asylum in Equatorial Guinea is an ECOWAS/AU arrangement under these arranged diplomatic circumstances. The host country is obligated to ensure that the former president remains in Equatorial Guinea until agreed and decided otherwise by the parties in consultation with the Gambia government. The Gambia government hereby assures the public, members of the diplomatic and consular corps, that Mr. Yahya Jammeh remains in Equatorial Guinea, and rumors of his recent flight to Guinea-Conakry as well as his planned return to the Gambia are meritless tales being peddled by detractors. In the same vein, the Gambia government urges those detractors to desist from rumor-mongering and the spreading of false information calculated to cause public anxiety and undue alarm. Moving on now, the Gambia has recently been hit by internet blackout, causing disruption to businesses, communication and other essential services. The latest blackout, which happened on Tuesday, was the second in less than a month. For what has been responsible for this, we try to find out with the Deputy Managing Director of GAMTEL, Mr. Lamin Tunkara, who is waiting on the line there. Mr. Tunkara, excuse me, Mr. Tunkara, good evening, and it's good to have you on GRTS News.
Good evening, Fatu. Thanks for having me.
Now, tell us what has caused Tuesday's blackout.
The fiber cable connection that links us.
Hello, Mr. Tunkara?
To the yes.
Yes, come again.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes, yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, the fiber cable connection that links us to the outside wall for our voice and data service was caught. This happened at Farato at the Mendau School Junction yesterday.
Now, Mr. Tunkara, is a multiple backup system on the cards to prevent a repeat in the future, considering that Tuesday's nationwide internet blackout was the second in 2 months?
Well, I'm not sure if it is a second time that we have this national blackout. I would say within the country, maybe a couple of times within the past 2 months. This major one, which affects the entire country, as far as I can remember, yesterday was the first in a while. But to your point about whether we have multiple backup systems in place, I want to say that yes, work is in progress to make sure that we have the systems, as you mentioned, the backup systems, to make sure we have redundant lines to be able to help us in the event of such failures. But let me elaborate on this a little bit, if you don't mind.
All right, go ahead.
This particular link that was caught yesterday by a company called Sapoji. Sapoji is in the process of working with NAWEC, OIC for our water expansion project. And like I said yesterday, while they were running their pipes across in the Busimbala area to connect the suburbs to the main waterway, they happen to come across our link. And this particular link is a secondary backup link. So you see, we do, as we speak, have backup links. That is the main ACE cable, which runs from Ivory Coast. Yesterday we said this, all the way down to South Africa. And Gambia had subscribed to that, where we get our capacity, internet capacity through that. Now, what Gambia gets, the capacity that Gambia gets, is shared among the service providers of the country. Now, a few days ago, or I want to say a week ago, we ran into a mishap in that too, when these fishing boats that are in the sea happened to run across it, and the cable was damaged. So the main link was down. Now, when the main link went down, we connected through backup link, which is through Sonatel. And this backup link too, there is a primary and a secondary to it.
Mr. Tunkara, let me just come in there a little bit, because you mentioned that this is the first of its kind that you've witnessed. Maybe the explanation to that would be in terms of severity, because a few weeks ago, people experienced the same thing, where people received from the SMS GSM operators that they were unable to access the main internet, so they were linking onto other options. But you are saying this is the first of its kind. How do you explain this to the everyday consumer?
Yes, that's what I'm explaining to you. Now, what I was explaining here is we have the main ACE cable. Now, a few weeks ago, that cable went down. But at the time, we have our backup in place. So as soon as that cable went down, we had to switch to the backup. Now, sometimes it takes a little while, maybe an hour. It may take 2 or 3 before we can get all that connection back in place. So there was an existing backup, which we had to switch to. Now, that backup is what we are on right now. That is what was, caught yesterday. That backup link that the entire country is on, that's what was caught yesterday. Therefore, there was no internet in and out absolutely at all in the country. So that's what I was trying to explain. We have the main link and we have backups. The main link is down and the backup now is also down. But thank God yesterday we were able to walk through it and get it coming up.
All right, let's shift to see whether you've been engaging the intelligence services on this matter to see if there are other factors, man-made, which of course seems to be the persistent issue to this. Have you been engaging the intelligence services, and what have you gathered, if there was any?
Well, this whole thing is all hands on deck. the telecom industry, from the private sector to Gamtel government, we all know what our responsibilities are, and the intelligence service too, they know their responsibilities. We won't have to tell them that this is something that's happening, because it has everything security-wise for it. So they are on top of that game, and yesterday, whereas we may not want to come here and say, okay, intelligence service so it was there, but I'm sure they were around watching and looking and seeing what exactly is going on around the time when we are trying to put these things together. So absolutely, they are all engaged. I mean, they're involved and doing the things that they need to do to make sure that we get this taken care of and try to see what can we do to avoid future, happenings of this magnitude.
All right. Before I let go of you, not to even talk about quantifying the economic loss, but are you looking forward to partnering with, of course, private institutions to work on this internet issue that Gamtel continues to face?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Matter of fact, that has been the case all the time, because yesterday when this happened, we have all other private sector service providers like the Africell, the QCell, the Comium. We were all on the phone calling each other to see what can we do. At QCell, what can I do to make sure that we get this thing resolved and moved quickly? Now, I'll give you an example. When the systems were down, these
all right, we've lost Mr. Tunkara there, but we were speaking to Mr. Tunkara here on the Tuesday's blackout, internet blackout, of course, that occurred. But we move on to other issues because the network of financial and tax reporters, in partnership with the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Bankers Associations, have held a day-long forum on tax compliance for members in the media. Fatih Janimbai reports.
The network of financial and tax reporters said they are poised to raise awareness on taxation and its importance among the country's media fraternity. The Wednesday Media Engagement Forum has its objectives premised on just that. Dozens of journalists have benefited from the day-long exercise. Abdullah Nyoke, the founder and president of the Network of Financial and Tax Reporters Gambia chapter, said it's only when journalists are au fait with tax-related issues that they can report accurately on them for informed decision-making among the public for national good.
The essence of this forum today is to bring key players together and discuss the essence of tax compliance and the need for tax reduction or tax break due to the negative impact of COVID-19. The primary objective of the NFT Gambia chapter is to ensure that there is a transparency of payment of tax between the government, business community, and the tax authorities.
Topics discussed during the day-long capacity building include the role of the media in creating awareness on taxation, the need for public-private partnership, and the negative impact of COVID-19 on businesses. Facilitators included Lamin Cham, the editor-in-chief at the Standard newspaper, who labored on the role of the media in promoting tax compliance.
The media is always, anything you are doing, should be the voice and the eyes of the general public. And areas like taxation and things like this thing that are really important to the economy, it is equally important that journalists keep an eye and report on that.
One of the objectives of this program is to promote public-private partnership, as the public remains the primary source of information to journalists. Mohamed Singh is the Business Development Officer at the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a partner of the Network of Financial and Tax Reporters.
Globally, public-private dialogue creates a foundation for market-friendly policies that deepen economic reform and enhance national competitiveness. GCCI, in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, helped in establishing the NBC, with the GCCI serving as the Secretariat.
Also supporting the network is the Bankers Association.
I've been very supportive with this network, and we are not going to we will still continue supporting.
At the Network of Financial and Tax Reporters Gambia chapter, the belief is that journalists as information disseminators do their job better when they know the subject matter at hand, hence the training on taxation. For the news, I am Fatu Janimbai.
And we will be back with the sports news right after this break. Do stay.
If you are looking for opportunities in management and haven't found one, TBEC College and other education or specialized training institutes in the Gambia offer management training to youths without prior training or certificates, strengthening their skills in planning, organizing, leading and directing, and handling key management tasks in an organization. Some of these management graduates go on to find meaningful employment, with some graduates deciding to start their own business. If you need post-training guidance, this institution is involved in the welfare of its graduates, offering career guidance, including job application and interview preparation, in addition to their certified trainings. Are you one of those who believe that taking the back way is the only way to success? Head over to wapawell.info/Gambia to find out more about safe migration procedures and local opportunities for education, employment, and entrepreneurship in the Gambia.
Welcome back. Now, Wasahlad are the champions of GDC Free Football Tournament after a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Jola Kunda in a colourful final attended by a massive crowd that included the GDC party leader, Mama Kande. Famarabaji witnessed that final and he tells us more.
This tournament has more to it than football, as organizers move to strengthen national unity and initiate programs for youth engagement. In its start here, the exciting community solidly expresses symbolic unity, binding participants in this sporting undertaking.
This tournament have created an atmosphere where our young people can know each other and love each other and make a better understanding that this country belongs to them and nobody else. And to make this country move forward, it cannot happen in the absence of unity.
The tournament is bringing a lot of impact in the society. Because youths now have forget their difference. And know that in order for this country to develop and the Gambia at large, they must come together in the same platform to share ideas.
On the pitch, an intense and fiercely contested encounter brought Jola Kunda in blue against pink-colored Sahawad. The growing football-loving community of Serekunda emerged strongly to justify their attachment to football. A boisterous crowd gathered at the worn-out East Park to grace the final as two rivals battled to best each other. The noise in the stands kept up by passionate fans, strongly egging their team to claim glory, made the finals a thoroughly entertaining affair. The contest was mostly decided in the first period, when Jola Kunda won a penalty, which they squandered and paid for moments later, as Sahala triumphed with the only goal of the evening, courtesy of Boba Jiba, whose delightful hit was all but enough for Sahala to triumph 1-0 amid raving fans creating the final whistle with an outburst of colorful celebrations.
If you look at the way grassroots football is in the Gambia, I mean, it's not going accordingly. So we need stakeholders outside to invest. And we are really thanking Mama Kanda for coming up with this initiative. And we are hoping to see more of a kind.
This is the third time. You join for free. The only thing they request from you is discipline. No violence. And they are trying to bring all the youths together to make sure that we have only one Gambia. No tribe, no party. Only one Gambia. They see. I'm just giving them very big congrats to them.
Certificates were awarded to various patrons and people who contributed to make the event success. A great performance before an exciting crowd. Jola Kunda received the runners-up prize as the day's big winners Sahalad went home with the trophy and grand prize. Famarabaji, GRTS News.
Well, we will take another short break. When we return, we'll look at the international news. To stay.
Ni ibe
bundale nyini kan mararola fannato management andun hali bunda killing ima soto sibe college anin karantinkira kotangol minul be gambia banko kan ka funding kel karandi management la minul nenema karan warang ya certificate soto dolu mini management karango kumfa isitano yela la finna group soto wol kono doli e fansu business le fango kumasi ning isulata yamaro ila karango banding kola ning karan bungol minul de lo ring ila karan dingol la nyato tala betenten la ke yamar wokono ibido ko nyini la nyame aning ni bitala interview dula Fiti be kafure mole ko mimi ya mira ko nimanta bakwe ite kututela no imunafanga wakawal .info/Gambia dame isikimba kasengo soto nyanta sila ko ino nuna katama katalabantala bankol kan warang isu la karango to soto anjula ya Gambia banko kan.
Welcome back. Now, more than 1,000 people are arrested in Russia after the jailing of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. Riot police turned out in force in Moscow to prevent people from demonstrating against the court ruling. Witnesses say police used excessive force to detain peaceful protesters. Navalny accuses President Vladimir Putin was trying to intimidate his critics. Earlier, Alexei Navalny was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for violating the terms of his parole. Western governments have condemned the ruling and called for his immediate release.
A heart for his wife Yulia. The only goodbye Alexei Navalny could manage before heading to prison. Earlier, he told the court the charges against him were fabricated, a way of intimidating his supporters. All of these officers and this cage, it's not a show of strength. It shows their weakness. They are weak. And they cannot jail thousands or even millions of people. Outside the cavalry arrived early. Lines of riot police stood in front of the court, not to keep Navalny in, but to keep his supporters out. As the day progressed, police detained hundreds of Navalny supporters who'd come to show their solidarity. Age was no barrier. This woman stood her ground in defiance. As night fell on Moscow, the protests grew. But so did the presence of police in riot gear. And the arrests.
Well, but that was the end. But before we take a leave of you, a recap of the day's top stories. The Banyunka Family Association of the Gambia has met with President Barrow at State House, where they discussed issues of national development. Boosting rice production, the Ministry of Agriculture and partners have launched the $30 million regional rice value chain development project targeting 10 African countries. GRTS finds from Gamtal what was responsible for Tuesday's internet blackout in the country. A day in Palodi village visited to the last settlement in the North Bank region to find out what it means to live in one of the Gambia's most remote communities. In sports, Wasahalat Akram champions of GDC free football tournament after a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Jolakunda. Away from home, more than 1,000 people are arrested in Russia after
the only goodbye Alexei Navalny could manage before heading to prison.
With that, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of our programs. We'll be back again at 2200 hours for more news. Bye for now.
Imagine your life without connection. Every change comes with new challenges and opportunities. So now is the time for a new normal, new habits, new ways of communicating your love, needs, and ambitions. AfriCell makes it possible. Staying apart, together, with one heart.
dafa juddu ak mayam li mënoon kenn jàngalu ko waaye biiri dafa amoon lu spécial lu nekkoon ci moom loo xam ne kenn jàngalu ko
bu jëkk góor ñi am na liggéey yoo xam ne ñoom rek ñoo ko daan def léegi jigéen ñaa ngi koo def yéen naka ngeen def ba jigéen ñi mun a feeñal seen bopp wala yéen naka ngeen di def pour feeñal jigéen ñooñu.
business doo jóg rek ni man damaa def business foog nga xam li anglais wax fondamental si foog nga xam lan nga si war a def lan la laaj ak lan la laajut lan la nangu lan la nanguwut loolu yëpp ñu ngi ko won jigéen ñi.
ndongo Banjuli démb ga ñu tax ñu naan ndongo Banjul doo ko jéem da nga koo donna soo ko donnul doo ci mun a ne du compine booy wax xëy suba rek bokk génn déedéet.
kenn nit mun a tuta yóbbu kër il faut jigéen ji liggéey man gis naa jigéen yoo xam ne ju seen jëkkër yi dee dañ jooy parce que ñu ne pour jóg sax dem defi dara ñoom xamuñ liñ war a toppatoo pour ci kër gi sax fan lañ koo defee di dañ toogoon rek kooku di leen defal lu nekk.
kan moo njëkk a doon police bu jigéen ci Gambia Police Force.
am na benn xale bu jigéen bu dëkkoon primate Njaayeen kooku ci groupe bi ñu ko bokk la. Sira Njaay maa ngi koy fàttaliku bu baax a baax.
jotaay ci seeni télévision GRTS jotaay di ñëw ci week bu nekk di waxtaan ak njiitu liggéeyu